Alright, welcome back to the RazorwireReviews Podcast, the triple threat of wrestling, movies, and life. And it is currently the 25th of October 2014, and it is 17 minutes past 6 in the evening. And I'm here in Norway, the mean streets of Trondheim, Norway. And I'm back. Yes, I had a week-long visit back home to Wales, Penarth, South Wales, to be precise. I won't be any more precise than that, though. And yeah, I had a great trip in some respects, and that's what this podcast is going to be about. I'm going to be talking about my trip and what I got up to and all that kind of stuff. Before I do, something I want to kind of quickly mention as we start here with this podcast is that I want to tell you why I'm doing this, I say the triple threat of wrestling, movies, and life because invariably every podcast I'm going to be talking about at least two of those things. Wrestling is the least likely, or the most likely for me to not talk about because I'm not as passionate about wrestling as I once was. But I've always got stuff to talk about as regards to my life, and movies is pretty much a huge part of my life. So, anyway, that's why I say that at the beginning of every podcast. And also, I'm kind of doing these more. I mean, last week's podcast, going back to the yard, I read the first chapter of my new book that I'll be writing and probably releasing next year. And I got a couple of messages about it, but there was no comments on YouTube and not much of a response for that one, and that was a shame, honestly. I won't lie, but at the same time, I'm doing this mainly, as a record. I've talked about this many times before. I'm kind of obsessed with self-preservation, which is a stupid thing to be obsessed with because in 100 years this could all be gone and it'll all be wiped out anyway. You never know. I always say that we're at the mercy of the universe, or we're at the mercy of people. Where someone could just could go nuts tomorrow and shoot you randomly while you're walking down the street. You just never know. And especially again, we're at the mercy of nature and the universe. I mean, a super volcano could explode and we could all be fucked. We could find out that an asteroid is going to hit us in 9 days and we'd have nothing to do about it because believe me, there's no Armageddon plan. If something like that happens, we're just screwed, basically. So, I don't know why I'm obsessed with that, but for me, to kind of keep things alive for as long as possible, I guess, is something I'm interested in. And also, I kind of, and I'll get into this more in depth later on because it works into something I did on my trip, but I just think it would be interesting. Maybe not. Maybe it's too much for someone in the future to listen to this. Maybe my great grandkids could listen to this and think, "Wow, that was what my great grandfather sounded like. That's what he, that's the way he spoke. These are the things he was interested in." And of course, you could say, the amount of podcasts that you do or the amount of videos that you do, the material that's there for people to look back on in the future might be too much. And I think there's pluses and minuses to that in terms of what you can look back on. Just in terms of family, I'm not thinking that anyone else outside of my family is going to be very interested in these podcasts in the future. But I mean, I think to say my great-grandfather, I don't know anything about either of my great-grandfathers. Nothing about them. Well, I guess you could actually. There'd be 4 of them, wouldn't there? I don't know anything about any 4 of them. Either of them, any of them. I could probably, ask and find a photo, but all that I would know, about a great-grandfather or a great-grandmother is just a picture, a black and white picture, with probably a vacant expression. And you can kind of look back on a picture like that and you can kind of almost invent in your own head what they were like just based on how they look, and that's kind of a judgmental thing to do. But at the same time, there's kind of an air of romanticism about it. It's kind of like you never will know who they were or what they were about, and that's kind of part of the mystery. And it's kind of, I don't know, there's kind of a cool thing to that. Or if you have like a video clip of a short clip of your grandfather, and that's all you have, and it's just that little bit that you can kind of just look at and think, that kind of stuff. Whereas now that the technology has advanced to the degree it has now, there are literally thousands of videos of me that people could look back on, and it might be like, oh god, there's so much of this guy, I don't want to watch all of it. I mean, I don't know. I think there's pluses and minuses. You can know too much sometimes, but at the same time, knowing too little can be frustrating. So I've already eaten up a lot of time talking about that, so I apologise. I really do. We're going to crack on straight away with some of your questions. Sent out the request on Facebook and Twitter as always, and I've got a couple of questions from you guys to answer, so let's get straight into it. Sean Harrison asks, do you think that foreign movies should get better recognition during the Oscars? For example, Mads Mikkelsen should have won Best Actor in his film The Hunt, aka Yachten, ahead of Matthew McConaughey in Dallas Buyers Club. Mads was outstanding, and I was extremely disappointed when he wasn't even nominated for his acting role. I do think that in certain cases, foreign actors or foreign movies should get better recognition. I know they have the best foreign movie category, but sometimes performances should transcend the Academy's regular criteria. I think for me, I think it was a crime that either Lea Seydoux or Adele Exarchopoulos were not nominated for Best Actress for Blue is the Warmest Colour last year, because those were two amazing performances. And I don't know, I think maybe it would just kind of it would go on too long if they had Best Foreign Actor, Best Foreign Actress. And I guess it's because there are award ceremonies around the world, and the Academy Awards is the American one. But at the same time, it does cater to more than just American audiences. That is hilarious. My cat just turned up at the window with a branch in her mouth, and she looks like a dog right now. I can't believe it. She looks like Muttley with a little branch in her mouth. She's just looking at me now. You might be able to hear her scratching that twig on the outside of the window. Anyway, so... Although, like I said, although the Academy does kind of cater to not just American, actors, but British actors and English actors, English-speaking actors, I should say. I don't know, but either way, I think in some cases they should make an exception and stick in whoever, and I agree, Mads Mikkelsen should have been up for Best Actor, regardless of the fact that it was a Danish film, and I agree he gave a fantastic performance, but I can't judge because I haven't seen Dallas Buyers Club yet, but. It's a weird, I mean, they have, I guess they have Danish movie awards, things like that, and I'm sure he won something, but, I don't know, I think in certain exceptions, they should, make an exception, but no, I mean, what I hate about the Academy Awards, as much as I get carried along with the, the pomp and circumstance of it myself, I do criticize it, and, I really don't like the fact that the people who vote in the Academy Awards, the Oscars, it's not required of them to watch everything. It's only suggested that you watch everything, and that to me is complete bullshit. And I think if you actually sit down and watch all the films that are nominated for any Oscars award ceremony, you'll clearly see how the voting has gone the way it has. For me, the best documentary really shone a light on that this year, because they had a few documentaries, and I watched all of them, that were fantastic. The Act of Killing, which was incredible. Cutie and the Boxer, which to me I would really want to win because I thought it was one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. I absolutely adored it. It was fantastic and really meant something to me. I think it really told a great statement about art, love, and life. And it was done in such a short space of time as well. But no, the one, I forget, what was it called? 20 Feet from Stardom was the one that won the Oscar, and it was about backing singers and their history. It was a fascinating documentary, a bit kind of fluffy. There wasn't too much to it really. At the end of the day, all it was examining was people who did backing singing, and didn't get that much recognition for it. But at the end of the day, it wasn't that big a deal. It was just a fun movie, and they kind of, to me, it just seemed like they gave that one the Oscar because it was a feel-good movie, and because it was, it wasn't going for the political move with the Act of Killing, which is one of the probably the most shocking film I've ever seen, by the way. So I just don't. Yeah, I feel like it was a political choice, or it was just a choice to appease people. Because to me, 20 Feet from Stardom, while a competently made documentary, didn't come anywhere close to touching on important things like the Act of Killing, and I'll even say Cutie and the Boxer, which is completely opposite ends of the spectrum. But I think that as much as you can say important things about bad things that are going on in the world, you can say important things about good things that are going on in the world, and also nice things, and there can be a good compromise, a good balance, I should say. Sorry. But anyway, that's my very long answer to that question. James DVD Collector says, do you think die-hard horror fans get a bad rap as weirdos? Being a fan myself, I know a lot of people that are die-hard, and they are some of the nicest people I know, even if they look different. Yeah, I do think die-hard horror fans get a bad rap as being weirdos. I think at times it can be warranted. You do see those people who are very weird, and well, I guess that's me judging, but I don't really put all the people like that in a box and say they're all weirdos or anything like that. And I do know that you should really judge people by who they are and not the things that they're interested in, the things that they dedicate their lives to out of their interests. But yeah, I do think they get a bad rap and a bad reputation sometimes as being weird people. But some of them are, some of them are. But I think it's a generalization, and hey, I get a bad rap from some people for just collecting the amount of movies that I do. Why do you buy so many movies? People think it's stupid, and yet someone can collect stamps for all their life, and people accept it because it's one of those things that has kind of been around for so long. Just stamp collecting. Oh, you stamp collect? Oh, that's fair enough, But you collect that many, you spend that much money on movie, You always get people who don't understand the things that you like and the things that you do, and I guess anyone can get a bad rap for being obsessive about anything. But yeah, I think a lot of horror fans probably are misunderstood and painted in a more negative light than they probably should. Oh, yeah, I do agree with that. Nope, get in, get in. The next question is from Richard Dalt. He asks, which film have you been most excited for ever? Star Wars Episode 7. I mean, I'm doing a running series on it on YouTube. If I stop and think about Star Wars Episode 7 for too long, I just have to think of something else because I get too excited and just wound up because it's just unbelievable to me, really. And that is a current thing, so I'm trying to think if there's an example of something previous. Well, I'll tell you what. Here's a little kind of story. Very briefly, I'll try and keep it brief. The Harry Potter film. I was a huge fan of the books, and when they were making a film, and they announced the cast, and I saw who was playing Harry, Ron, and Hermione. They looked perfect. The trailers, they seemed perfect. The trailers were exciting and magical, and it just seemed to be everything that I'd want out of a Harry Potter film. And it was coming out, and I felt like, and I felt this a few times with different things. I felt like I'm so excited for this, and this is a strange thing to say, but I would think, and how old was I then? 2001, so I was 13. I was a 13-year-old boy thinking to myself, I'm going to get run over this week. I'm going to die. Something's going to kill me because life can't be that good that I'll be seeing Harry Potter next week. I mean, and this wasn't like a thought I had in my head to amuse myself. I literally thought that something bad was going to happen to me because it was just too good to be true. And my dad took me, and it was listed on the website. I looked at the times before we left my dad's house, and it said preview screening. I was like, oh, maybe it's preview screening. I wasn't sure what it was, and we went there, and he took me in and everything. And I was sat there, and the film started. Great, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, amazing. And it was the scene, and I've told the story many times before. It was the scene where Dudley's running up and down the stairs, and the dust is falling onto Harry's head as he's sitting in his bed in the cupboard under the stairs. And I was thinking, and I remember sitting in the cinema looking at that scene and thinking, this isn't happening. I thought they were going to turn the film off after half an hour because that's what a preview screening was. We'll show you half hour of the film and that's it. And when the film was over, I was just on cloud nine. So that was probably, I'd have to say, the film I've been most excited for previously. I mean, the Star Wars, the prequel films of Star Wars, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but they didn't have that element that would make me that excited, which Episode 7 does, is that we're going to see Mark Hamill again, we're going to see Carrie Fisher again, we're going to see Harrison Ford again. And again, I've told this story as well, but when I watched Return of the Jedi for the first time, it was the first kind of real bittersweet moment in my life where I realised, wow, that was amazing, but it's over, and I'll never see Luke Skywalker in a film again, and that sucks. And now here I am, how many years, nearly 20 years later, and I'm about to, in about a year's time, be gearing up to watch another Star Wars film with Luke Skywalker, and, the gang's back. It's incredible. So excited for that. He also asks, food preference, US, UK, or Norway? I have to go with UK because it's what I know. And when I visited the UK past week, it was just so many things I wanted to buy and eat, and obviously I didn't eat all of them, but or buy all of them. But yeah, I'd say the UK. The US, there's some nice stuff. I had the best burger I've ever had in the US in New Orleans, in Bayou Burger on Bourbon Street. That was amazing. I had the best steak I've ever had in Rochester, New York. I think it was a Longhorn Steakhouse, something like that. And it was just an amazing steak. Norway, there's some food here I like for sure, and I have to say that my fiance's cooking is fantastic, and I enjoy all the dinners that she makes. But I'm going to go UK on that one, especially with the snacks and stuff. There's a lot more things that I like, and it's a lot cheaper as well. But yeah, I could go on about food for a while, so I'll leave that one there. But yeah, UK for me out of the three for sure. Nick Harvey has a very long question. I'll read it all though. He says, I think this is what should happen for the Royal Rumble 2015. Undertaker enters the Rumble at number 1, gets eliminated last by Roman Reigns, who goes on to WrestleMania 31 to face Lesnar for the title. But part of the angle should be where Undertaker is determined to retire back to the dark side for good once he becomes the undisputed champion from the man who wounded his unbeaten record. So, okay, I think what he meant was that Undertaker would win the Royal Rumble and challenge Lesnar for the title. No. Okay, so yeah, it was what he put. So Undertaker ends the Royal Rumble next year, number 1, gets eliminated at the end by Roman Reigns, who goes on to WrestleMania 31 to face the WWE champion Brock Lesnar. But he's determined to get back at Brock Lesnar, so there's a triple threat main event for the title at WrestleMania 31 between Roman Reigns, Undertaker, and Brock Lesnar. And Taker should be the Lord of Darkness version from the Attitude Era for his last run. And the ending would be great as well. He would pin Lesnar after the Tombstone Piledriver and celebrate with the title. But the lights go out again, and the Wyatts unveil themselves as a few of Dead Man's druids attacking the Phenom, then stuffing him into a casket that they bring out. Do you think they should come up with a suitable storyline along those kind of lines, and how would you play that out? No offense, but that would never happen in a million years. Just because I think the Undertaker's done. He could come back, sure. He could have another match, sure. But at this point, I feel like the Undertaker's he's beat up. He got really hurt at WrestleMania 30, and I don't know whether he'd risk doing that again. But at the same time, you've got to think that his pride would want him to go out on a match that he's happy with. I'm sure he wasn't happy with WrestleMania 30 purely because he was knocked out for most of the match and just kind of got through it, which is really evident because it wasn't really a great match, I don't think. And I was there live and I watched it afterwards, and in both instances I didn't think it was a great match. So someone like The Undertaker, I'm sure, would want to go out in a great match. A triple threat with Reigns and Lesnar doesn't make much sense to me. It makes sense Undertaker would want to get some revenge on Lesnar, but it's kind of done, and it is what it is, I think. If The Undertaker would wrestle again at WrestleMania, I think that the much lauded match with Sting, I think, would be great because it wouldn't be too taxing on both men's bodies, and it would be more of a moment and more of a spectacle and a dream match that they wouldn't have to go all out, and I probably wouldn't be able to go all out either because they're both getting on in their age. But I would like to see Bray Wyatt and The Undertaker. But it seems to me like Bray Wyatt is becoming more of a face these days than he is a heel. So I don't know how that would work. I mean, obviously he could just tone up the heel stuff. And we could see what you were talking about with, maybe on Raw, Undertaker comes out or something and do that angle with the Wyatts dressed as the Druids and taking him out and putting him in a casket. And that could lead to a match at WrestleMania between Bray Wyatt and The Undertaker. I could see that happening. But at this point, I think that the best we're going to get is Undertaker Sting. If not, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see the Undertaker in a ring again at all, to be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel about it. But thanks for the question, man. And thanks for the elaborate idea as well. Good to see. And finally, we have a Twitter question from Chris Vint. Thoughts on the Avengers Age of Ultron trailer? Well, I was probably going to talk about this anyway, but thanks for reminding me because I had actually forgotten. But the day before I left the UK, it was posted on Facebook. I think it was leaked. And so I watched it without any sound, and it was like, the video box was about the size of a phone. So I wasn't really blown over by it, and to me it just seemed like Avengers versus Transformers. Like, to me it just seems like, oh, okay, so there's like loads of more Iron Man suits, or, robotic suits, and, this big Iron Man suit that's as big as Hulk to fight Hulk. It just seemed like, we've done this, Iron Man 3. I mean, I really loved Iron Man 3 with all the Iron Man suits and everything used at the end, but I felt like, oh, is that what the villain's going to be? More Iron Man stuff? I mean, I was a little underwhelmed by it. But then when I got back to Norway, I checked it out with sound. Much more impactful. I thought it was a fantastic trailer. It goes to show you that, the sound can really, help things, not only dialogue but music. Great kind of... not score, but this kind of this vocal. Well, I guess it was score with vocals over them, but it was really, really good, and very dark and evocative. And then we had, of course, the amazing James Spader, who is providing the voice of Ultron. Who I don't know anything about Ultron. I'm not really versed in the lore of comic books. I mean, I'm the biggest Batman fan in the world, but I still don't really know that much about the comic book history of him, so let alone Marvel. I have no idea, but I think the character looks interesting. I loved the way that James Spader voiced the character in the trailer. Great delivery, just very, very good. And again, the last line, he has no strings on him, I think is a great little theme, and just the idea of the Avengers being puppets, and it's interesting. It ties in nicely as well with the storyline from Captain America, the Winter Soldier with Hydra and everything. We see Nick Fury kind of in street clothes, and the fall of the Shield and all this. I mean, I haven't watched the Shield TV show yet, so I should probably do that. But either way, I thought the trailer was brilliant. Some great, looks like some cool action shots and stuff, and it looks more darker than the first one, which is always good. And I have a lot of faith in Joss Whedon's direction and writing, that it will be a great film, and very exciting that it's quite close now, about 6 months away. So yeah, I think it was a really good trailer. Again, I'm still not completely won over with this, using all the Iron Man suits. I don't know if they are Iron Man suits, but there's a shot of like all these robotic suits flying up into the air, and it was just like, I don't know. But overall seems great. So before we get onto the main part of the podcast, where I'll be talking about my trip, I'm going to kind of make this a weekly thing, where I'll be talking about, and of course, probably not even worth mentioning, but I'm recording this on a Saturday, and I'll get up on the Saturday, but I'm still hoping to stick to the Thursday every week, just because I was traveling all day Thursday, that I couldn't get this up in time. I had to kind of recover yesterday, so yeah. Best cinema experience. Ryan Chataway asked me this question a couple of weeks ago. I first answered it last week. I want to make it kind of a running thing, because I have many great cinema experiences. This one I want to talk to you about, a very quick one, is Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Came out in 2002. I went to see it the day it came out. I had to go on my own. I can't remember why, because some of my friends were big Star Wars fans, but I ended up going on my own. My dad dropped me off at the cinema in the evening, and I hopped over the rail straight from the road, went right into the UGC cinema, got my ticket and went in, and it was packed, and it was just great. I mean, I actually read the novelization in the school library a couple of days before, and which I probably shouldn't have done, but I saw that Yoda was going to have a lightsaber battle, so I knew it was coming. But what I loved was that they didn't show Yoda with a lightsaber in any of the trailers, so it was a big surprise, and I was waiting for it, and when it happened, again, I've told this story tons of times, but for the record on this podcast, when Yoda got his lightsaber out and he jumped towards Count Dooku, Christopher Lee, and just started flipping all over the place, like, everyone in the room kind of breathed in, and it was like a shock wave. You felt the whole room move almost, and it was just the atmosphere was so tangible. It was fantastic, and I love the film. I think there's most of the love scenes with Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman are a bit cringeworthy at times, but well, not all the time. I thought some of the scenes actually worked, and I think that Hayden Christensen, not to go into the film, but I thought he did good with the angry side of Anakin. But visually, I love the film. I love the whole not detective, but like the mystery aspect with Obi-Wan kind of looking into the clone mystery and all this. But I think it's a great film, and I really enjoyed it, and that cinema experience was great just for that moment where everyone felt the same thing, and you could feel the the awe. It was amazing. So yeah, that was another one of my best cinema experiences. Okay, so going into my trip that I took back home to Penarth, where I'm from. It'd been 10 months since I've been there, so 10 months, the longest time I've ever gone without seeing my family and my friends, and that was tough, in the long haul, and but you kind of get used to it, out of sight, out of mind, that kind of thing. But when you stop and think about it too much, as I've said before, it's a bit shit. But me and Connie went back. It'd been 2 years, over 2 years. Well, no, actually, it was about exactly 2 years since Connie had been there. So it was when she moved back here from when she lived in Wales with me for about a year and a half, I think, something like that. So Connie hadn't seen anyone in 2 years over there, so it was great for her as well, because she and my mum really get on well, and they had a great time catching up and stuff. And yeah, so we flew. I flew over. When was it? Last Wednesday, and I met Connie in London. She'd been visiting people there, and she'd been doing some stuff in London. So I met her in the evening at London coach station. Sip of water. And we got a coach, a megabus, from London Victoria down to Cardiff, and the coach driver actually he stopped. It was a double decker as well, and we got the front seat, which we never get. My voice is going, as you can hear. I don't know why. It's not like I've been singing or screaming or anything. Let me just cough and have another sip of water. So yeah, we're on a double decker, at the top of the front and everything. That's why it was cool. But it seemed to me like the bus was kind of veering to the wrong lane of the road sometimes. It felt like the old driver, who must have been in his 60s, was kind of falling asleep at the wheel. I was getting a bit paranoid. It was like 2 a.m. or something, but he stopped at some service station. I thought, oh god, something's gonna go wrong. But he was calling up his bosses, I guess, and said, well, there's no one in Newport, so there's no one in Bristol, so can I just drive straight through to Cardiff? So that's what we ended up doing, but it didn't really save us any time. But either way, we got to Cardiff early hours of the morning. My dad picked us up there, gave him a big hug. Again, missed him a lot, so it was good to see him. My mum was up because she works kind of late hours sometimes, so we got back to my mum's place and gave her a hug as well. It was great to see her, and then went into my room. Yeah, my room, which has been my room for, let me think now, 13 years. It's gone through many changes over the years, especially when Connie moved in. But there's been some work being done on the flat. It's a ground floor flat and a council flat, and the council have been promising to put new kitchens and bathrooms in our flats for years, and it's finally come to fruition this year. And the reason that I hadn't been back so long was because we were waiting for it to be done. My mum was dreading it, and she wanted it to be done and to kind of for us to see the new kitchen and bathroom, and that was keeping her going. But it just wasn't happening. They weren't telling her anything about when it was going to happen, and so we said, fine, we'll just come in October, because it doesn't seem like it's happening this year. As soon as we booked our flights, within a few days, they were like, okay, we're going to be there in October, and it's like, oh my god. So by the time we got there, they'd been working there for about 2 weeks, and my mum was told it'll take about 5 weeks and to expect the place to look like a building site. So my mum has 3 cats there, and so, or 2 that are hers and 1 that is mine and Connie's, but it costs so much to bring a cat over here. We've had to leave our 1 cat Shelby with my mum for the time being. And it was just, stressful for my mum with the cats and stuff, like what to do with them and if they'll freak out and stuff. And it's turned out alright in the end, but and I'm sure that none of these workmen will be listening to this, but let me just say that a lot of dragging of the feet going along with that. They've scratched up my mum's fridge. It's not been a good experience, and they just take all day doing what seems like very little. So yeah, it was again not really good for me and Connie, because we had to they were there all day, and so we couldn't go to the bathroom, we couldn't brush our teeth. I had to go with my nan's to shower. Luckily, my nan and granddad live like literally 2 minutes away from my mum's place, so we could go and shower. But it was just it was a bit of a hassle and a bit awkward. Well, not awkward, but just I don't know. Just felt like I don't know. I couldn't relax with those guys around, and just like tiptoeing around these things. I don't know. It just wasn't nice. And also, my room they'd been working in my room. Luckily, they didn't do too much, but they put some trunking in the wall and ceiling for new power outlets, and as a result, most of my Blu-ray shelves were kind of covered in this dust, and there was 10 months worth of dust in the whole room anyway. So I had to go. I spent like about 4 hours the second day we were there in the night, just like we had these kind of furniture polish wipes. We didn't have any actual polish, so I was using these wipes to just take all the dust off everything, and it was just absolute killer, because I'm actually allergic to cats, even though I love cats and always have been around cats, but I get used to them. But I hadn't been around these 3 particular cats for 10 months, and so my allergies started flaring up. I needed to take my allergy pills, and I was just sneezing the dust. It was horrible. So pretty much the whole week I was just really my allergies were not good, which was a shame. But I didn't even mention that before I left here, Norway, I had 2 really bad days with my back. There's one spot on the left of my lower back was really hurting, like it was unbelievable pain, and I couldn't sleep. I didn't get to sleep till like 9 a.m. One day last week, and then the night before I was leaving, I was so cold, and I went to sleep fully dressed and was still shivering, and I was like, I'm going to be so sick when I'm going home. This is going to suck. But luckily, I kind of powered through it. I felt quite ill the first couple of days, but I kind of got over it. It was just the allergies that was the problem then. But it was fine. So we went to sleep about 4 a.m. the first night. Got up at 8 a.m. to call the doctors, and I went straight up there pretty much, I think it was 10 to 10 in the morning. Got my regular doctor, had a chat with her, basically to get some of my prescription, because I have eczema, a dry skin condition, and so I need cream to moisturize my hands mainly, and my feet sometimes, and my neck, and what do you even call that part? Not on the other side of your elbow, the inside of your arm, whatever that spot is. It's kind of a sweet spot for eczema, so whenever that flares up, I need a certain cream to calm it down. And for the past year and a half, I've been getting like 3 months supply before I come back to Norway each time. So I was asking her for that, but she said she couldn't give it to me anymore. I'd have to go to the nurse the next day. So I arranged a appointment with the nurse on Friday. I also talked to her about my back, and she gave me some advice. And the back is fine now, but I guess a muscle's just kind of got bad or something. But obviously, spending most of my teenage years getting thrown on concrete and all that kind of stuff, being a backyard wrestler did not help my back situation. Don't backyard wrestle, kids. It's not worth it. So yeah, the first day, Thursday, went straight to the doctors. I went down to Greg's and got like a chicken bake. Oh my god, that was like heaven. Just like just the home comforts. Went to the doctors, booked my appointment for the next day with the nurse to not only get my prescription, my medicine, but also to have an asthma checkup, which I hadn't had in like a couple of years, and to also have a flu jab while I was there. And she said, have you had your flu jab? I was like, nope. She was like, do you want to do it? I was like, yep, sure, no problem. Got no problem with needles, so I signed myself up for that one as well. And then we went up to went down to the big Tesco, we call it, because in Penarth there's 2 Tescos. There's the Express store where I used to work for 3 years, and then there's the big superstore down by near Penarth Marina. And so we went down there with my mum, my granddad. He drove us, and we did some kind of shopping just for me and Connie to get some stuff that we might want over the week. And then we went back home again, and then put all the shopping away. Then me and Connie went back up to Penarth town to meet my stepmom and my nan, my dad's mum, and we met them outside Albert Road Primary School, which is the school that I went to when I was 5 years old. And we were going to meet my little brother Tommy and little sister Millie. And it was a surprise, it was, because Tommy, it was really sweet because as we were kind of waiting for him to come out and finish class and stuff, my nan was telling me that she had Tommy, my brother, in the car with her, and he said, "Nan, I really miss Luke." But when I realized that I miss him, I just watch all the videos he sent me, and I thought that was kind of sweet, because I sometimes send him videos and stuff, and I've sent him a few audio files of me reading Harry Potter, so it's good to know that those videos were nice for him. And but it was it was just kind of kind of sweet that he said that. And then we were waiting for him outside the school, again, complete surprise, and he didn't see me, and I was stood right there looking at him, and he was kind of goofing off with one of his mates. He's 8 years old, by the way, almost 9. And he walked straight past me to his mum and my nan. And Mel, my stepmom, she just kind of put both her hands on his shoulder and turned him around facing me, and he just looked at me for a second, and there's this kind of, it clicked in his head, and he just screamed, "Luke!" and just jumped at me, literally jumped at me. I grabbed him, and he gave me a big hug, and he was really excited and stuff. Everyone was smiling and laughing. It was really, really nice. And then within like about 10 seconds, he was like, "So have you played Assassin's Creed Brotherhood?" And he's like telling me about all these games and stuff, and then we walked round to where Millie, my little sister, finishes school, and it was the yard that I grew up in, the schoolyard that I played in, over 20 years ago. It's crazy, but it obviously it seemed smaller, but it was just mental. And I had been there, but I went there a few years ago. I actually went inside the school, which was even crazier to see how small the one of the halls seemed in the school. The whole school, even, it seemed so small, but it was crazy to go back inside there. But this was the first time I've been to that yard, and it was it was weird. But Millie was there, and she had the same kind of thing where she looked at me, and it took a second or so for her to realize, and then she ran forward and gave me a hug. It wasn't quite as animated or as loud as Tommy was, but it was still very nice, and it was really cool to see. We went back and we hung out for a bit. And then we went back to my mum's place, and me, Connie, and my mum went out for a meal at Harvester, which is a restaurant in the UK. And me and Connie always used to go there. We love the food, and it's quite cheap, and so we always used to go there. And we were really looking forward to going back. And very rarely would I don't think me and Connie and my mum had ever gone out. The three of us together. So we went out to Harvester. We had a nice meal. I had a burger and chips and stuff, and me, my mum and Connie, we all got on really well, which is great. But what happened was Connie had this steak, and she always gets steak, and it was perfect. She was loving it, and so great. And then she got to the middle of the steak, and it was raw. And she showed my mum. My mum was like, "Yeah, that's raw." And Connie never complains about things. She doesn't like to, even though she wants to. So my mum kind of, geared her up a bit and got her to say something. So she said, "Excuse me, my steak's raw. Could you just put it on the grill for a couple of minutes or something, please?" And the woman was like, "Oh yeah, sorry, no, sorry. Yeah, I'll take it." She took it and stuff. And where we were sitting, I mean, pretty much anywhere you sit in this Harvester, it's the one. I won't say which one it is, but either way, anywhere you sit in this particular Harvester, the kitchen is kind of right there. You can see the chefs moving around and stuff. And we kind of heard a bit of commotion from one of the chefs. Okay, a couple minutes later, she turns up with a new steak. It wasn't the same one that had been put on the grill again, wherever they cook it. It was a new steak, and you could tell it was a new piece. Okay, so Connie starts eating it, and then she looks in the middle, and it's raw again. And she's getting really frustrated now, and she's like, "I don't even want to eat." And, she said that she'd been eating, and because she'd stopped for so long, she was already starting to feel full, and she was getting really upset about it. But, my mum geared her up again to, say, it's still raw. So she said it's still raw. The woman apologised, took it back, and then we heard the chef going, "What? Medium rare?" She wanted it, and I was just like, how unprofessional is that, And I imagine in my head it was some young guy, some jacked up young guy who just, thought he knew it all. And when I eventually saw him, he was just exactly how I imagined him, some young guy who must have been in his 20s. But we got the steak back. And I went to get a refill of my Coke. We had you get an unlimited refill, but the machine was broken, so I had to go to the bar. I went to the bar, and they looked at me and they were like, "Is everything okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I just want a refill of the." And they're, "Oh yeah, the machine's broke." I was like, "Yeah, I know. I saw the sign. I just want a refill of Pepsi, please." Okay, so they filled that for me, and they were kind of three people there just looking at me cautiously. I'm like, it was really not a nice way to be treated, as if I was gonna be starting complaining about something. And if something's raw, it's raw. You got to say something, and it's not our fault. Yet we were kind of being treated like we were being unreasonable. Well, obviously Connie was, but I hadn't said anything to anyone. Yet I was still being given this look by some of the workers there. Anyway, I got my Pepsi, went back. The steak was fine, thankfully, and she finished it. And we got over it, and luckily it didn't ruin the night, because I knew it would have with Connie. She'd get too upset about it. But we were starting to leave, and as we were leaving, Connie was walking past the place where where they cook, the kitchen area, and the chef was stood there looking at her, and he was just shaking his head. Just looking at us, shaking his head. And I just stopped, and I looked at him. He looked at me, and I looked him right in the eyes, and I just stopped dead in my tracks, and I just looked at him for like 3 seconds, which is a long time when you think about it. And he kind of faltered a little, just the slightest bit, And then I just walked out. I was like, I'm not even bothering going up to that guy. I just had to let him know, who the fuck do you think you are? You didn't cook this fucking steak properly. What do you expect? We're not going to sit here and eat raw food, you didn't cook it properly. That's it, And I'm sure what happened the first time was that he got the steak back and he just threw a new one on there for a couple of minutes and just, chucked it out there. And that's why the second one was raw. So that was just a real grinding of my gears. And just fuck him, who the fuck do you think he is? What a piece of shit. Anyway, moving on. So that was Thursday, I think. Yeah, Thursday. And then on the Friday, I think we went out to my dad's again. Again, I won't go through everything, but that Friday night we went out for a meal with my nan, my granddad. My nan, my granddad, my mum, my uncle, his new girlfriend Donna, my cousin Jody, her I think fiance or boyfriend Lee, and their son Vinny, who I hadn't met before. And so went out to the oyster catcher in Penarth, which is down by Penarth Marina. We always go to the Harvester or the Carvery, usually when it's kind of a family thing. So we kind of went for a different place this time, and it was to celebrate my nan and granddad's 50th wedding anniversary, which was just, it wasn't until yesterday actually. So we went a week early because that's when everyone was kind of in town, me included. So we went out and had a nice meal. I had another burger and it was amazing. Connie had a steak and it was great. So the food was all good on that front, and it was a really nice night. And I'd say that that side of my family, my mum's side and my uncle's side, my nan and granddad, it's a very piss-takey kind of family. And I think everyone loves each other, and there's everyone's got a bit of a sentiment in them, but the main bulk of it is kind of this certain sense of humor. So there were a couple of words spoken, like happy anniversary and all that, and we all love you, but and then of course my granddad would be kind of making wisecracks about being stuck with my nan for 50 years or something, So it was always undercut with this certain sarcastic humor, which is great, I love that, and but it was nice that a few nice words were said as well. And my nan also said that something like, "I wish you all a healthy and happy life," which was a nice thing to say, and it was really cool. And while we're on the subject of this 50th wedding anniversary, the bane of my whole week was the fact that a few days before I left for the UK, my mum messaged me and said, "I've got something to ask you. You don't have to do it, but me and Richard want to have a video made for Nan and Granddad that kind of uses all their home movie footage that they have dating back to the 60s to kind of for their wedding anniversary. And would you make it?" And I said, "Of course I would, but I don't know, I wouldn't even know where to start, because usually when I make videos like that, I have an idea. I had no idea with that, so I needed, a song and that kind of thing. So, she suggested the Doris Day song to me, Que Sera Sera. So I listened to it and thought it would work well. I had some ideas for it, and what was going to happen was Richard, my uncle, who doesn't live in Wales, he lives in England, but he was visiting with along with Jody, my cousin, and those guys, but. I guess under the pretense of something else, he asked my granddad, "Can I borrow the home movies that he had transferred to DVD?" And he then kind of, or Jody slipped them under the table to me while we were having dinner. So I got all the home movies, the DVDs of my granddad. Has had a camera in some way, shape, or form for 50 years. Going back to 8mm film, camcorders, that kind of thing. And so he has kind of footage of trips, family days out, and all that kind of thing, including footage of my Nana Granddad's wedding, exactly 50 years ago, which is crazy. So I popped in the DVDs into Connie's laptop, because she brought her laptop over to the UK. I didn't bring mine, so I was going to use her laptop to make the video. But what happened was, the DVDs were corrupt, or at least a couple of them were. I didn't check all of the later ones, because it was really the first DVD that had all the footage of their wedding and their honeymoon that I was really focusing on, and the disc was damaged. The case, when I opened it, the disc hubs were very loose, and I think the DVDs are about 10 years old as well. And my granddad, converted all the VHS tapes over to DVD and got rid of the VHS tapes. So effectively, this footage was gone forever, and I just felt my stomach dropped. That was horrible. And I spent all night trying to fix it and salvage any of the data, and I couldn't really. And then I looked under my bed, which has got all sorts of stuff under there, and I found the original VHS tapes, which I had because I knew I had the one that had me when I was growing up, as a baby and a young toddler and a little boy, but I wasn't sure about all the older stuff. And what happened was, back when my granddad was getting rid of the VHS tapes, I said, well, I'll have them. So I took them, and if I hadn't, then we might not be, ever looking at that footage again. So it was such a weight off my shoulder, but also at the same time, I had to then reconvert all that stuff to DVD again. And I have this DVD recorder, which is quite temperamental. You can't just record like an hour onto a disc, finalize the disc, pop another disc in, and then film and record another hour of footage. There'll be an error or something. You have to turn off the DVD recorder, unplug it, leave it for a couple of hours, and then it'll work. I mean, that's the only way I've ever been able to use it. So it took a long time to even get the first couple of tapes done, and there's still a lot more that hasn't been done. That really took up a lot of my week. And at the end, by the beginning of this week, my uncle said, don't let it take over your week. Just do what you can and don't worry about it. But I wanted to get the video done, so I did yesterday. I edited it all yesterday, spent all day working on it, and got it up in time for their actual wedding anniversary yesterday. And they finally saw it after much tinkering around with my mum, trying to download it and all that kind of thing and show it to them. And she filmed their reaction, which I got to see as well, which is really nice. And they really liked it. And my mum said it was brilliant, and it made her cry, so that was nice. And to quote my uncle, that was fucking brilliant. So, and he also said that I'm not afraid to admit it brought a tear to my eye. So, I'm really happy that turned out to be a nice thing. And it was a sentimental video, and I focused mainly on using the old film footage, the 8mm film footage. So there's kind of a beautiful quality to it. But you kind of think where that footage has gone. It's basically was filmed in 1964, with 8mm film, and then I don't know where my granddad must have projected it onto a wall and then taped it with his camcorder on a VHS-C tape and then converted that and dubbed that over to a VHS tape. And then now in 2014 that has been remastered to DVD and then ripped from DVD to laptop, digitized, and then used in a video 50 years after the fact. So that footage has gone through such a journey, which I think is kind of incredible, and it's great to be a part of that, I think. But yeah, I used mostly footage from their wedding and their honeymoon, and there's a line in the song Que Sera Sera, which is talking about, growing up and then, falling in love and then having kids of your own and going through the same kind of cycle. Sip of water. And so I used footage of my uncle and my mum when they were like 1-2 year old and stuff, and them growing up very briefly. It's only a 2-minute song, but worked out really well, I think. And then there's a message at the end with, there was a picture of them on their wedding day, and then it fades into a picture we took of them the night we had out last week. So it was, almost exactly 50 years apart with both of them together, and it was really nice, I think. And at the end, I included a little funny clip of my granddad just blowing a raspberry at the camera, and my nan laughing because she was filming. I thought that just seemed to sum up them, because they have a great sense of humor together, and I think they're such a great couple. And anyway, so the video turned out great in the end, but it just took up a lot of time from my week, and I couldn't really ever relax. Watched a few films while we were there with my mum. First film we watched was The Burbs. Me and my mum, it's one of our favorite films to watch together. She introduced me to it, and she got me the Blu-ray for my birthday this year, so I held off on watching the actual film. I watched the extras, but didn't watch the actual film on Blu-ray until we went home. And popped the Blu-ray in with my mum and Connie. We watched it, and Connie was falling asleep when she left before it ended. Me and my mum were just pissing ourselves as usual, and the one line my mum really laughed at was when they go in the Klopek's house, and this is just for people who know the film, but when Bruce Stern says, it's about a 9 on the tension scale there, Rube. My mum laughed and said she hadn't actually clocked that line before, so that was funny. I also love the bit when Ruben's like, or Bruce Dern saying, "Yeah, it's funny, Rube. I didn't see a moving van parked outside. When you moved in." And Ruben, the old man's like, "That's funny because it was parked outside all day." It's such a great film. I love it, and we had a great time watching it. And then we want to watch another horror film, or more recent one, so we watched Mama from 2013, which I could take it or leave it. It was okay, it was enjoyable, it passed the time, but I didn't love it. I'll just say no more than that. and then the three of us again watched Aliens on Monday, which again is one of the films I think me and my mum like to watch together. And again, she introduced me to it, and so I loved watching that again. It's just one of my favourite films, and to watch it with my mum is always great, I think. And also, I always think of my mum when I watch it, not because she introduced me to it, not because it's the first film I ever watched, because when I was not even 1 year old, she would put it on the TV, and I would shut up for 2.5 hours. Which sounds like bad parenting, but I was so young I wasn't really cognizant of what was going on. But one of my earliest memories is having a dream about a picture I saw on the back of the videotape, which wasn't a nightmare, just a dream. I had a weird dream, and one of my earliest memories. But also just the way that Sigourney Weaver looks in the film with the short, dark, curly hair. My mum had short, dark, curly hair for quite a long time, and so just in that sense, she doesn't look like her in the face, but she is kind of the same build and the same kind of hair. So I always think of my mum when I watch it, and that's cool. Anyway, while I was there, I discovered a new favorite pop. Now I love soda or pop, whatever you want to call it. I've always drunk it. Always drunk too much, in fact. Coke, Dr. Pepper, vanilla Coke, cherry Coke, Fanta, Sprite, 7. I love, Dandelion and Burdock. If you want to go really deep into it, ginger beer I absolutely adore if it's a good ginger beer. The Cherryade, all that kind of stuff. And when I went to Tesco, where I used to work for 3 years, kind of saw some of my old colleagues and stuff, and caught up with them very briefly. I wasn't going there to see them as such, but just kind of talk to them as and when I bumped into them. But I was going there to get I can't remember what I was going there to get, but I was going there to get something, and I looked at what drinks they had, and they had a whole new line of cans. I think it was Old Jamaica brand, the ginger beer, which we've always had, but also new stuff like grape soda. So I tried that, and it was amazing. Pineapple soda, which again was really nice, but the grape soda reminded me of these big cans that you'd get in America called Grapeade for 99 cents, which was just awesome. I had one of them when we watched The Walking Dead season 4 finale in Atlanta, which was really cool. So the grape soda was nice, but there was one, and I don't think it's Old Jamaica brand, I don't know what brand it is, but it was KA, or Ka, I guess, Fruit Punch Sparkling, soda. Oh my god, it was one of the best things I've ever had. I absolutely fell in love with it, probably had too many cans of it, but it was just so nice, and definitely is my new favourite drink, and KA Fruit Punch, absolutely incredible. If you're in the UK, just go get it, just go drink copious amounts of it, screw the sugar, just do it. And then on, what else did I do? I don't want to kind of drag this podcast on too long, but I took my brother out for the day, down to the beach, and that was cool. I actually went to the Kimmin, which is kind of this house and grounds near the beach in Penarth, where my nana granda used to live, and so I have many memories of that. I used to live there for a couple of months, actually. My granddad was the groundskeeper there, and it's where I filmed my first film in 1999, 15 years ago. So I filmed a little kind of featurette, I guess, for the Blu-ray of my first ever film, to kind of just revisit the locations 15 years on, which hadn't really changed that much, so that was cool to do. I wasn't planning on it, but my brother was like, he just kind of walked into the Kim, and I was like, okay, let's go down here, and I had my camera with me, so I filmed a little thing, which was cool. We went down to the beach. He took me into the inside the pier building. I don't know what it's called, but they renovated it, and it looks great, and he was showing me around and stuff, and he was like, oh, the cinema's amazing, because there's like a little cinema in there, so that was cool. Then we went back to my place very briefly. And yeah, I'm trying to think what I did on Saturday, because Saturday, again, every day something was going on, and it was just non-stop, really. On Friday I went to have my flu jab, which was fine, asthma checkup fine, got my medicine and stuff I needed, that was cool. I've been saying that a lot, that was cool. Saturday, what did I do on Saturday? Trying to think. Well, my mum was off again. Oh, my mum made spaghetti bolognese, which Connie was dying for, because she loves my mum's spaghetti bolognese, so the workers were only there during the week, so Friday when they left, my mum just kind of moved all her stuff back into the kitchen. She was like, I don't care, I'm just moving all my stuff back in. And she had kind of a semi-working kitchen, so she made this spaghetti bolognese, and that was really nice. We did something. We went to Cardiff a couple of times, me and Connie, just to look around. HMV, which was like just a wonderland to me. I felt like Homer Simpson in Chocolate Land, just like almost wanted to dance around the place, just looking at all these Blu-rays, even though I couldn't buy anything. Went to the market, I saw that they had the David Gilmour his first solo album on vinyl there, and I was like, oh my god, I want that so badly. I love that album. But yeah, lots of stuff I couldn't buy. But yeah, so we went around Cardiff. Connie went to the old Starbucks she used to work at, and she was depressed because no one worked there anymore. Although that she found out later that one person did, so we went back the next day, I think, and she caught up with one of her old work colleagues, and then she met with some other ones as well. She went into Cardiff on her own one day, so she got to catch up with those people, and I got to catch up with some of the people in my work as well. That was good. Always good to see people. I was bumped into quite a few people along the week. I saw Chris Cope very, very briefly on my last night. I was like, I'm sorry, I can't talk. We've got so much to do. But yeah, I've never really hung out with Chris Cope actually. He's a guy who I kind of met through YouTube, I guess. He lives in Penarth, but he's from America. So yeah, it'd be cool to hang out with him properly one time. We both love wrestling and stuff, so I'm sure we'd have a lot to talk about. Anyway, another sip of water. On Sunday night, I went over to my friend's house, Rowley, one of my best friends, and we had a kind of reunion of sorts. Him, me, and Denzel. And one time I would definitely count Denzel as like my best friend. But with me being away, it's hard to kind of maintain that kind of a friendship, really. And he's never been one to be online that much, so we don't really talk much online either. And he's had quite a big change in his life over the past year. We'll not go into that, but so yeah, I hadn't seen him in a while. Definitely, I hadn't caught up with Denzel in well over a year. I saw him briefly last December when I was home for Christmas. We didn't really talk or anything because it was like loads of people were there, but it was great because me, Denzel, and Rowley, during the summer of 2009, I'd say that the three of us were like best mates. Like almost every week we would hang out together till like 3 a.m. We'd go over to Denzel's house and we'd pop in the Sega Mega Drive, and we call it the Sega night because we'd always have a Sega night together, which kind of originated in 2009 when my friend Alex was down for a wrestling show and nothing happened. So he drove down from Manchester to Penarth to wrestle and nothing really happened. So we just went over to Denzel's and played Sega and had popcorn, and it was awesome. But we me, Denzel, and Rowley kind of kept the Sega night going on, and it was some of my best memories. Just sitting on Denzel's window, just playing Sonic until 2 a.m. with eating chips and stuff, and drinking Coke, and just talking about life and just bullshitting. It was just that's some of the best times for me. I love those two guys. And yeah, so we planned on getting together at Rowley's place. So I turned up. Denzel would just turn up. It was Sunday night, last Sunday, and I brought over a load of discs of like the wrestling comps because we all wrestled together, me, Denzel, and Rowley. I wrestled them both many times. In fact, we had a triple threat match together once, and so I brought all the discs of all the stuff that I had at the time, back home, and I brought some wrestling games. I wasn't sure what we were going to do, so usually we just watch all the videos and stuff. So we popped one of the videos in, we started watching, and then Rowley said, "I don't want to get you too excited, but look at this." He got up from his chair in his bedroom and he picked out this bag, this kind of spa bag, one of those strong bag for lifes, and he opened it up. And I don't know if you can hear that or feel that, but obviously you can't feel it, but maybe you can hear I can feel there's like some vibration going on downstairs, or I think they're washing something next door. Anyway, should be fine. Yeah, he opened this bag and it had 2 Sega Mega Drives inside it. He went on the mad one and ordered them from eBay. He ordered some games and stuff. Toe Jam and Earl and all this, like Desert Strike, and we're like, oh my god, and Denzel was like, I'm half tempted to just go back to my mum's place and pick up my Mega Drive and games and stuff, and I was like, do it. And I didn't think he would, but he did. Denzel left, he drove to his mum's place, he came back about 15 minutes later with so we had 3 Sega Mega Drives and all these games, Batman Returns, Spider-Man, Avengers, versus Ultron or something like that, which seemed quite appropriate at this current time. And I was like, man, there's no way it's going to work in a flat screen HD TV. And Denzel was like, yeah, I really don't think it's going to work, to be honest. And Rowley was like, well, it might. So he plugged it in and he switched his TV onto analog mode, and he did the thing where you click search and it scans through the kind of the static, and we were sat there for about 2 minutes with bated breath, and it clicked on and it was Sega, and we just freaked out. And then we were waiting for the game to start because Denzel was like, oh, maybe the sound won't work, it's too good to be true. And then it started up. It was Mortal Kombat. Oh my god! So we played Mortal Kombat, and what else we played? We played through all the Streets of Rage, which was hilarious because they kept telling me not to press the A button, and I kept pressing it by mistake. It's like when you say "Don't look down," and so I kept ordering in the police strike without any enemies on the screen, and it was just it was such it's a really fun night. We just played Sega games all night. I filmed a lot of it as well on my phone, I think. We played through all the Streets of Rage. They played through Golden Axe when I went home for about 10 minutes, and we played like this bike racing game, Desert Strike, Batman Returns, which brought back a lot of memories, but was still really hard. Spider-Man. Me and Denzel almost completed the whole of the Avengers game, which was awesome. It was basically like Streets of Rage / Golden Axe, 2 players on screen and that kind of the same kind of format, but you're the Avengers, so Iron Man, you're flying around and just shooting people, and Captain America throwing your shield out, and it was awesome. And again, appropriate because of the whole Ultron thing. I'm sure it's like Avengers with Ultron or something like that. I don't know. I'd have to look it up, but great night, a lot of laughs, and yeah, that was probably the most fun I've had in a very long time. And yeah. While I was home, I started a new film project, and it'll be a documentary, and I'm not going to say anything now, but I will say that I plan to release this film in 2025 or 2026, so watch this space, which is a real tease, and I doubt anyone who's listening to this or anyone who follows me on YouTube will be anywhere near following what I'm doing in 10, 12 years' time, but who knows. And another thing I started was a project that I had in mind a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago. I had this dream that I was watching a film, and the film was of me and my grandpa. My grandpa has been, he passed away 11 years ago now, and almost 13 years ago. No, almost 12 years ago. And he was one of my favorite people in the world. I talked about him last week, I think, actually. And I had this dream that it was me and him walking down the street, and it was in black and white. It was this 35mm film footage. It looked fantastic, and we were just talking. I was like 5 years old, and it was like a really cool little like short film. And then I kind of zoomed out, and it was me as a teenager sitting in my nan and grandpa's house. And my grandpa was telling me about when he was, in his 20s and what he used to get up to. And I said, hang on, let me grab my camera and film this, because in the future this will be cool to look back on. And then I woke up and realized it had never happened. And I was like, oh, it's a shame, And I thought, well, you know what? He's not here anymore, but other people are. And so I spoke to my mum, and I want to kind of interview my mum, and I want to interview my dad. And I don't want to be an interview per se, but I want to sit down and just chat to them about their lives and ask them questions about things I don't know about, or ask them about things I do know about, so that I can keep those stories on film, and they can be preserved, and my great grandkids can see, what their great grandparents were like, that kind of, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I was hoping to interview my dad, but he's like trying to catch a fly. He's always off doing something, but he said he'd do it, So hopefully I'll be able to do it in the future. But the one person I did do it with was my nan, my mother's mum, the one who had the 50th wedding anniversary yesterday. And yeah, so I went over, and I felt a bit awkward about asking, because it was it was a bit personal to ask someone, can you sit down and tell me about your life? But it turned out really good. We sat down, and we were there for about 2 hours. I got about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes of footage. We took a couple of breaks and stuff. But I just asked her, do you have a middle name? What was your childhood like? What did you like to do? What films did you like? What was it like doing that? And she would tell me things, and I'd say, well, how did that work? Or, and she would, it was just really cool. That's one of my most treasured things now, is that video I have with my nan. Just sitting down talking with her, and then eventually my mum came over, because when the workmen were at her flat, she kind of comes over to my nan. So at one point my mum and my granddad were in the room at the same time, and they would kind of chip in every now and again, and so yeah, it was good. And I hope to do more with my nan as well, because there's definitely more I'd love to talk to her about, but you can't really do 3 hours worth. You got to space it out, I think. So I definitely love to do more with my nan. I'd love to do it with my granddad, and especially my mum and my dad. My mum won't do it on camera, though. She's being funny about it, so even though she knows I won't post it anywhere, but it's just for the family. But we're going to do an audio one, so that should work out fine with my mum, I think. But yeah, that was a highlight for sure. And then the one of the last nights, I think, or the night before the last night, I think it was, me and my dad went out to play pool. And I said to him, we never do anything together. It's always me, you, and the kids are there, and we don't end up really talking or anything. So let's go out and play pool and do something together, just the two of us. And he was like, yeah, sure, because, he took me to play pool last time was like 13 years ago. I worked it out because I went with him and my uncle to the snooker and pool club in Penarth, and it was just after the first Lord of the Rings film came out, so... my grandp and my dad and my uncle, they play pool a lot and snooker, so I really wanted to do that. And so he took me along, and he was like on the phone with his mates as usual, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm down the pool club, if you want to come down. And I was like, well, Dad, I've got no problem with that, but I did just want to kind of spend time with you. And he's like, oh no, had some excuse or whatever. But in the end, it actually turned out great, because we went out to the pool club, me and my dad played a couple of games for about 45 minutes on our own, and then his mates came along, and I can get on with them. So I think there was 1, 2, 3 of his mates turned up, so there was 5 of us, and then we opened up 2 pool tables, and then we were just playing, all 5 of us just alternating who was playing who and stuff. And I had a great time. We were there for hours, played loads of games of pool. I actually started getting into my stride a bit, which is cool. Wasn't great, but I made a few cool shots, and won quite a lot of games. I had like a 6 or 7 game winning streak, which was cool, against I think all 3 of his mates. And then we finished off with me and my dad against the 2 of his mates who were left at the end of the night, about 1:30 in the morning, and we won. Only just. I had the last shot with the 8 ball and I missed, but luckily my dad potted it, so we won. Yeah, that was a great night, and I hope to do that again as well. Now Connie's just come in, so I'm going to take a quick break and then round up this podcast. Did you hear that? Can you hear that? That is incredible. She never cries like that when I come in. If I've been out and I'll come in, and she'll just look at me. I'll come in, I'll go, hey Lily, and she'll just look at me like, yeah, what? Whenever Connie comes home, she starts screeching like she's been home for a month on her own. It's not just that, it's the like her voice is breaking. Lily. Unbelievable. She's such a mummy's girl. I swear to God. Anyway, well, I think Connie's taking her time, so rounding it up. The trip home was great, didn't get to do half the things I wanted to do, but got to do a lot of things, which is great. Every day we did something, and got to spend a lot of time with family. So I went to see my uncle and my auntie, Brad and Caroline, and their sons, Ben and Sam, my cousins. And Ben had a pull-up bar in his room. He took me and Connie up to show us the PS4, and he was showing us what it was like. And then they were both trying to goad me into doing a pull-up on his bar. And I said I'm going to be too heavy and I'll break it. But I did one. I did a pull-up, so they were impressed. But it nearly broke me to do it. Right, is she going to come in now? Unbelievable. And I think I don't know actually. Right? Yeah.
You did?
It's recording a podcast.
You have a thing over.
Oh yeah, well I explained this last week. I have a sock over the microphone to soften the peas. So
soften the teas.
The peas.
The peas.
Yeah, pea. Oh, you just spat on me then?
I did not.
You did.
You're just saying that for the podcast.
I'm not. I swear to God, a bit of
You're
your.
actually gonna keep that in.
Yeah, a bit of your spit landed on my upper lip then.
You're kidding, right?
No.
You're not gonna say.
This is raw, unedited, real life.
You are not doing that. Seriously?
Yeah, seriously. I was just saying how.
So if I accidentally burped or something else, then you
well, I'd keep that out. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was just saying how ridiculous it is that Lily moans like she's been home for like a month alone whenever you come back. But when I come back from being out, she just look at me like, yeah, what?
It's because she loves you.
She does love you.
Huh?
She does love you. Right, okay, let's just finish this then. Anything else I can...
Can I say something quick?
Go on, what?
We're going to have pizza because I can't be bothered cooking.
We're going to have pizza again?
Yeah.
Because you can't be bothered cooking?
No,
What pizza?
It's late, I didn't know.
What pizza did you get?
Just a normal one because we were on offer for 25.
Oh, just a normal one. Ugh, Right, anyway, right, I'm just finished.
What?
Yes, let me finish this. So the trip. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else I haven't mentioned?
Trip.
I just told the whole story of our trip back to Wales. So.
Oh, the going back thing.
What going back thing?
You mean the horrible coach ride?
Oh, I haven't gotten to that yet.
Yes, look.
What? It's working. Okay. So, I guess I'll just go straight into that then. The journey from hell, or the journey from almost hell. We basically, huh?
We are in hell.
No, not in hell. Yeah. Oh, I'm just distracted now. I'm going to take another sip of water. And you're making a lot of noise in the background, so it's hard for me to.
Sorry, I need to get dinner ready.
Yeah. I should just cut this out. I don't know why I'm not bothering. I guess this is just real, isn't it? I guess.
Where to begin? You can begin with a horrible coach ride. The good one was good.
Right. Okay. So.
Didn't like that we didn't get a sandwich.
Yeah. So we took the Megabus Gold, which is no real price difference. It's just a fancier version, and you get like a drink and a snack and stuff. I took it once before last Christmas, and I got like a nice sandwich and a bottle of pop. So that was nice. So we got that at 11 o'clock in the morning, leaving, which was this past Thursday. We got my dad drove us, which was nice of him, and then we got on the coach, and we were sat in like a kind of it was basically like a train seat, 2 seats on either side and a table in the middle, a lot more spacious. A lot more spacious than the usual Megabus seating, and so it was fine. The only thing I didn't like was that the snacks we were provided with were a chocolate muffin and a packet of biscuits. So there was no sandwich. It was just all crap.
That chocolate muffin was delicious.
The chocolate muffin was delicious, but I was hoping for something a bit more normal, just like a sandwich or something. Anyway, so yeah, the Megabus was fine, and we kind of booked the coaches because we have to get a coach from Cardiff to London, from London to London Gatwick Airport, and then we have to get the flight from London Gatwick to Trondheim. If we could just fly directly to Cardiff, it would be an absolute dream, because it would shave off like 10 hours of the trip probably, because it takes so long just to get from the airport to Penarth. That's the main bulk of the trip. Unfortunately, the flight's only 2.5 hours pretty much. So anyway, we basically booked the first coach from Cardiff to London, and then we left like an hour and a half before the next coach, and then we gave ourselves plenty of time to get to the airport in time for the 8 p.m. flight. So
4.5 hours.
yeah, and so we got to London on time, on schedule. We hung around for a bit and got our coach from London Victoria to London Gatwick, which takes an hour and 20 minutes. If you take the train, it's like half an hour, but it takes so long to get out of London that the coach takes like an hour and 20 minutes. So we got on the coach, and the driver said that the day before he'd done the same route the same time, and it took him like about 2 hours or 2.5 hours or something, and that he estimated that we'd get to Gatwick at 6:30, and the coach was at 4:30. So taking 2 hours to get there it didn't sound very good. So anyway, the coach takes off, and it's normal. Leaving London, there's all these traffic lights, and stopping and waiting and stopping and waiting.
Did you say how long it usually takes?
Yeah. I've already said usually it takes an hour 20 minutes, and he said it was going to take 2 hours. And then there was another coach coming back the way that we came from, and he stopped the coach and kind of had a chat with the driver next to him. And then he came on the speaker and he said that apparently there'd been an accident on the motorway. So that was great, and he was going to take an alternate route. So yeah, he took an alternate route, which he said would be going through like small country lanes and stuff. Oh yeah, and he said that we also need to make a stop to pick up a passenger. And he went kind of out of the way through these country lanes and picked up this one woman, and then
30 minutes away from the airport.
Yeah, he went out of his way and then turned back again, just to pick up this one woman. I'm thinking, who is this woman? Who's this one woman who said, "Hey, National Express"?
She wasn't the queen.
Yeah, she wasn't the queen. Who was she to go, "Okay, National Express, you're going to pick me up from an ordinary bus stop in the middle of nowhere because I want you to"? And they're like, "Okay." Like, I don't understand how it works at all. Anyway, so he picked her up. And then these small country lanes, there just wasn't room for this coach. They weren't made for coaches, and these cars, every time a car would go past, you'd have to stop. And it was just like, they were barely making it past. And then there was another coach that was coming the opposite direction, and we were at a standstill. It took about 5 minutes to kind of maneuver out of that situation and get past it. Then we got to the motorway, and then there was, lots of traffic, and there was roadworks, and it was just like, we're not going to make it in time to be an hour before, the flight leaves to check in on time. It was such a stress. I mean, everything just seemed to be going wrong. But we finally got to the airport with a little bit... Yeah, 6:45. So we were there like an hour and 15 minutes before the flight was about to leave. So we were there with enough time. And also Connie was bringing her guitar back with the guitar case. And she was told when she phoned them up Norwegian, the flight service, that you have to check it in on the day. You can't pre-book, an extra, the oversized luggage. So we weren't sure if they were going to be like, oh, well, we can't do that, so we're stressing out. We got to the check-in, and Connie's suitcase was overweight by 2.5 kilos. But the very kind woman said, I'll let you off this time, which was very nice of her. And then Connie paid for the guitar to be taken into the oversized baggage. We went around the corner. We were told to, go and hand it into the oversized baggage place around the corner. We went around the corner, and it was this room with a conveyor belt, and there was this old black guy just asleep in the chair. So we had to wake him up, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, yep, just on it," really, comforting.
I said sorry to him, and he said, "I'm working for you."
Yeah. If you didn't hear that, Connie said she said sorry to him, but he said, "I'm working for you." Which is true, yeah. So we put the guitar in, and then we went through the security check-in. I had to go in the little X-ray scanning machine because my boots, my new boots. I didn't mention that my dad bought me new boots while I was there, which was great because I need new boots. But they're quite tight, even though they're the same size as my old boots. But they're like more waterproof boots, which I'll need for the winter. But they're quite uncomfortable at the minute. I need to wear them in a bit more. Anyway, so my boots were a problem, so I had to take them off, go through this X-ray scanning machine, put my hands above my head, and the woman clocked my Lost Boys t-shirt and quoted a line from the film, which was quite funny. So it went through with no problems, really. And then we went to the the main area where you wait to go to your gate, and they have the big boards everywhere with all the flights and stuff and where to go. 8:05, Trondheim delayed till 21:45. The flight was delayed by almost 2 hours. And the problem with this is that there'll always be a coach from Trondheim Airport to Trondheim City, which takes like half an hour, something like that. But once you get to Trondheim, in the centre, there aren't any buses running that late, and so to get a taxi would cost a lot of money. And thankfully, Connie managed to sort out a lift from her cousin who was going to pick us up, but it was already late. She was already going to be picking us up late. But now to be 2 hours later, it was we weren't sure whether she'd be able to pick us up that late. So again, more stress. And then we waited for like an hour for the gate information to come up, and then the flight got delayed again by another 10 minutes, and we're just like, oh my god. Anyway, we got on the flight, and flight was okay, I guess. Nothing special. I don't like flying that much, but it is what it is. We got into the airport in Trondheim. It was like what was it, like 1 o'clock or something, 1:30, something like that.
Yeah, like 1:30.
Yeah, and then we had to pick up the baggage, and then get on the coach or the bus, which didn't leave till 2:05. So again, we're just waiting and waiting and waiting, and then the coach to Trondheim City, it was driving about halfway there, and then the driver announced that like one of the tunnels was shut, so we had to take a different route, and it would take a bit longer, and we're just like, oh my god, this is ridiculous. It was only 5 minutes, but it just, at that point, it just seemed like, what next? What next? Oh my god. But anyway, we eventually got to the bus/train station in Trondheim. Connie's cousin picked us up and very kindly drove us straight to the front door, and we came in and collapsed. Yeah, 3 o'clock in the morning. So yes, we left at 11 a.m. pretty much exactly from my mum's place in Penarth, and got here at 3 a.m. So how long's that? Take away 8 from 24, that's 16 hours. So Yeah. Huh?
15.
15, is it?
Because it was 12 here.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, with the hours difference, yeah. So, yeah. Okay, so 15 hours when the flight is 2 hours and 20 minutes, you know, that's like the main distance covered right there, is 2 hours and 20 minutes, but then the whole rest of it was, well, along with the delays, of course, 15 hours. Oh my god, absolute nightmare. Well, I say absolute nightmare, I say journey from hell. It could have been a lot worse when you think about it. There's people who have to wait overnight and all that kind of thing, but, you know, it was just really just so much waiting and just stress. But we're here now, and it is what it is. So that's it for this podcast. I should mention as well that I'm going back to Penarth, going back home on December 1st for like 3.5 weeks, which is crazy when I think about it, and I almost regret the decision now because I'll be away from Connie for so long, but it'll give me a chance to spend a full week just sort my room out. There's stuff under my bed that's probably growing that, you know, there's probably civilizations under there I need to kind of eradicate, and I don't know, there's so much thing. And then the cupboard itself, which is just like seeming like a black hole of stuff. So yeah, I'm going to sort out my room completely, and you know, just have it be a nice room to come and stay in whenever we visit, really. And then eventually, I'm sure my mum can kind of turn it into whatever room she wants in the future. But yeah, so also I need to have a tooth removed, so I'll be probably going to the hospital in December, which is going to be great. I'm smiling sarcastically and holding 2 thumbs up. And yeah, and obviously be there for Christmas. But I'll be coming back on Boxing Day, which might be stressful in itself. I don't know what that will be like traffic-wise and all that kind of thing, but... And it'll be weird leaving the day after Christmas. But, you know, I'll be there for Christmas, and I'll be there for like 3 weeks to do whatever I need to do. And by then, the family will be sick of me, and I'll be sick of them, and it'll be good for another 6 months. Anyway, so that has been my much longer than planned story of my trip home, along with all the other answers to your guys' questions. And thanks for sending them in, as always. And yeah, kind of because of the whole wrestling theme over the past few weeks, I've kind of ended with a Stone Cold Steve Austin impression, so I guess I'll end with another one. And I don't know, maybe I'll change it and do a different impression every week of the same line. Who knows? But for now, I'll catch you down the road.